Welcome, Guardians. We got some random and unexpected news today. A closer look at Void 3.0. I was not expecting this at all. I was not expecting to get any more information about Void 3.0 until we got into Witch Queen. But you know what? Destiny dev team was like, YOLO, why not talk about it? So we're just going to dive in, read this article here. It has a bunch of different bullet points and a couple clips that we'll look at for Titan, Hunter, and Warlock and kind of dig deeper into them. I'm sorry if you hear my dog in the background like usual. Max is in a mood tonight. But let's get started here, saying the Witch Queen expansion for Destiny 2, Guardians will face unparalleled threats. Thanks, Windows Update. I appreciate it. Get out of here. From exploring the seat of Savathun's power, her mysterious and nefarious throne world, to face the Lucent Brood, hive enemies capable of wielding the light, players will be tested in ways that they've never been challenged before. It's a good thing, then, that Guardians come prepared. In addition to a new power cap and a host of new weapons and armor to use in the fight against the enemies of humanity, Guardians will also be imbued with brand new capabilities thanks to some significant changes coming to the Void elemental power coinciding with the Witch Queen expansion. The Void update, what we call Void 3.0, is the first overhaul of Destiny 2's elemental powers to come in Year 5. Obviously, look for Arc and Solar changes in the future. Void abilities haven't really been developed since 2017, and they are a reaction to the sandbox that was in Destiny 1, said Destiny designer Kevin Yanes. With Void 3.0 and other elemental changes to come, the team had a set of goals they wanted to attain to bring these classical elemental powers in line with the challenge level and balance of today's sandbox, as well as to strengthen the overall fantasy that is at the heart of each element's playstyle. We're trying to codify each of the damage types so that each element has its own world of gameplay that is dominant over, Yain said. For example, Stasis is the domain of crowd control. We look at what Void was about both thematically, and mechanically. Void is about gravity. It's about space. It's about the cosmic. That means we want things to feel like you're shooting black holes that drag people in. There's a lot of personality we can draw from that. Creates cool mechanics. So excited about this. The first big 3.0 change is the introduction, of aspects and fragments. First introduced with Stasis and Beyond Light, aspects and fragments give players more options to choose from when it comes to the abilities they want to use in battle. As with Stasis, aspects are class-specific selectable items that give players additional actions they can perform with their elemental subclass. Fragments are non-class specific complementary perks that players can select to enhance how they play the game. How players choose to combine their aspects and fragments is a key component of build crafting their Guardian. When developing the new aspects for Void 3.0, the team worked hard to center them around new actions. Verbs, as the team refers to them, that define what Void should mean going forward to players. It wasn't just like a passive or a perk, it should feel like a new thing that you're adding to your toolkit, Yain said. All of the actions feel like they have a new performance to them. They're reinforcing that core fantasy. These verbs manifest themselves in the forms of new actions for players to use in the heat of battle. New actions such as the Trapper's Ambush will find the hunters diving and slamming into the ground. Fucking Shadow Dive! Weakening enemies and causing nearby allies to become temporarily invisible. I almost said uninvisible. Titans will be able to grant barricade or barriers to allies, and Warlocks will be able to summon entities from beyond the void to help turn the tide of the battle. More on all of these new actions below. Honestly, real quick, seems like Warlock got definitely more of that cosmic space stuff compared to the other ones. But we shall continue here. None of that was available before the Witch Queen, said Yanes. The old Void subclass diamond system was rooted around a melee augment, a super augment, and then 2 passives. What we've done is essentially added 2 new sections. Yes, you still get your melee. Yes, you get your super, but now you get 2 new things that either plus up your existing kit or give you something that you didn't have before. We've taken elements and abilities from the diamonds and promoted them to full-size aspects, said Destiny designer Samuel Dunn. The Warlock's Chaos Accelerant ability is a good example. where the Warlock can charge their Void Grenades into more powerful versions and throw them. While that's something that's existed before, we believe that the performance and the identity of that ability is strong and feels like a unique ability, enough to stand on its own as an aspect. With the 3.0 upgrades, we're trying to take the cool parts of what already exists and then add in new stuff where we feel like there are holes to be filled. Before we take a deeper look at each class implementation of Void 3.0, let's align on some terminology. Some Void attacks apply one or more of 6 debuffs or buffs that confer a tactical advantage to the Guardian. First up, Suppress. The target is taken out of an active ability when suppressed. While suppressed, the target cannot activate any abilities or movement modes. Combatants are disoriented. Joy. Weaken. The target takes increased damage, has slowed movement, and is disoriented. Volatile. The target will explode in a void detonation upon taking additional damage. If the target dies before Volatile has taken enough damage to detonate, the detonation happens anyways. That is huge. I really like that aspect of it. Invisibility. The player vanishes from sight and does not appear on radar, obviously. Overshield. The player gains a protective barrier that immediately stacks on top of their existing health and shields and intercepts incoming damage. Overshield reduces the damage taken from PvE combatants. Devour. The player is immediately restored to full health upon activating Devour from any source and is granted grenade energy. When the player gets any kill with Devour active, they are restored to full health, granted grenade energy, and their Devour buff timer is extended. So obviously all of these, I'm assuming, are going to be all class specific, not just like invisibility is not just going to be Hunter. Devour is not just going to be Warlock. You can do any of these on any other class, and I think that's going to be interesting. Suppress. All I can think about is Mayhem, that everybody's going to be running suppression nades, and it's going to be a bitch. But we're going to jump into Titans. All right. So, a Void-enabled Titan is the stalwart shield of a fire team, whether serving up Ward of Dawn protective bubbles to withstand furious enemy assaults, or charging the battlefield, shield in hand, mowing down opponents, one shield toss at a time. Previously, the two supers, Ward of Dawn and Sentinel Shield, were tied to one another from a control standpoint, so that Titans had to use a similar input and sit through a chunk of the Sentinel Shield activation animation before the Ward bubble was created. I've already watched all these videos from earlier today, but look at how quick he pops this bubble. Instantaneously. Like, that is wild. I think that was, less than a second? Insane. That's going to be next level. They kind of break it down here some more. So with the Void 3.0, the two functions are separated, which means that the Ward of Dawn is now nearly instantaneously activated. In addition, the Ward of Dawn has been moved to the faster super cooldown tier, making it more available to the Titan in need. This change means it's a much better reactionary defensive tool, said Destiny designer Mike Humboldt. So as an example, here's kind of where they break it down. If a hunter were to jump at you and cast Blade Barrage, the Titan can now pretty reliably activate Ward of Dawn before any of the enemy supers land and survive as a result. That's pretty cool. So fast, like that's wild to me. Faster than D1, I think. Just as before, Sentinel Shield will allow Titans to traverse the battlefield, bashing foes with their Void Shield or tossing their shield as melee attacks. Pretty sure that's new, the melee attack aspect. Thrown shields will damage opponents and apply Volatile if Controlled Demolition is equipped, while shield bash kills will grant a full overshield. So, if I'm reading that, which I didn't notice earlier, so I guess you have general throwing shields abilities, and then you can still do a standard shield bash, like shoulder charge, I guess. Oh, watch this here. Notice he actually uses a sword to pop the barricade, which is a freaking sword. Or shield that you can just throw. Watch that again real quick. Go through the big shield, boom, there's your barricade, and then throw the shield. These are really long clip for no reason. But we'll continue on there. There are 3 Titan aspects to choose from with Void 3.0. Controlled demolition. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile detonation will make them volatile. Bastion. Casting barricade generates overshield for yourself and nearby allies. Those going behind the shield will regenerate overshield over time and extend the overshield's duration. I feel like that's going to be huge in endgame content, like GMs, that stuff. Offensive Bulwark. While you have overshield, or are inside the Ward of Dawn, grenades charge significantly faster, and you have increased melee damage. You also gain an additional shield throw for your Sentinel Shield super. Don't know how much that's going to be useful, per se. I guess if you do Overshield and then Bastion, that could be kind of smart. But we'll play around with all that. Hunter. The Hunter prioritizes movement and stealth in the heat of the battle. Whether it's enjoying a few movements of tactical recalibration and a tense encounter by briefly vanishing after dodging an attack, or setting snares and traps to disorient and slow their opponents, a fight with a hunter is always a study in agility, surprise, and deadly precision. We will watch this one. This is about Vanishing Step. Something that we don't already know about. That was like a really big dodge. I don't think we saw it at all, but it says Light Bearer Wizard. Like, it doesn't have a dedicated finish. Alright, that's it on that one. You probably hear Max in the background. He's barking to somebody. In addition to the Spectral Blade Super, the Shadow Shot... Hi, Max. The Shadow Shot variants that hunters are accustomed to, Deadfall and Mobius Quiver, will still be found in the Void 3.0 updates, though there are some changes to be aware of. For example, Mobius Quiver will fire volleys of 3 arrows that will now track targets and make them volatile if they are tethered. In addition, with Deadfall, the Void Anchors that are dropped after Shadow Shots will now pull enemies towards it when it impacts a surface or a target. That's pretty much what it does now, from what I can tell. The Hunter's Snare Bomb melee attack will now weaken opponents. In PvP, players caught in a Snare Bomb will have their HUD removed, an obscuring screen effect applied for a short period of time. Now, I'm a little worried with how that's going to play out. Let's watch this video. Because some people... But here, get out of the way. You can see it has the 3 there, so it kind of creates 3 individual tethers. I think it's definitely... That will be cool for like the crowd control aspect of it. That's it. Oh yeah, go invisible. With an boom, and that dive. Which looks like it just disorients, so won't be as damaging as Shadow Dive, thank God, but I still could see that being kind of annoying because giving you kind of that poison aspect. But saying here, hunters will have 3 aspects to select from with Void 3.0. You have Trapper's Ambush. Players can activate Quick Fall to spend their melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a smoke cloud upon impact. Enemies caught in the cloud are weakened, and allies become invisible. In addition, snare bombs upon attaching to surfaces or enemies cause nearby allies to become invisible. I'm just glad they didn't put suppression on that, because that could be a bitch. Vanishing Step, dodging makes the hunter invisible. And then Stylus Executioner, defeating a void debuff target, weakened, suppressed, or volatile, grants invisibility and true sight. While invisible and after a stylish execution, your next melee attack weakens enemies. I feel like they kind of have the weaker aspects, especially with the update to 3.0 here. Warlocks seem to have the coolest one. We'll see here in a second. But the infinite mysteries of the universe are the playgrounds of warlocks. When they aren't nose deep in an ancient text, warlocks are floating across the battlefield, healing allies and creating havoc among their foes. Void 3.0 fine-tuned these powers, and the warlock's new aspects will, among other new abilities, summon a brand new type of support from the yawning void of space-time. The Nova Warp Super lets warlocks quickly teleport from one spot to the next, and players can choose to let loose with a deadly void eruption. With the Vortex Super enhancement, a player's Nova Bomb will now draw enemies into its singularity it creates, damaging them once inside. Casting a Nova Bomb with the Cataclysm enhancement will cause it to travel across the battlefield and seek out enemies. Detonations will shatter into smaller secret projectiles. Shooting the Nova Bomb will cause it to detonate early. It's pretty much just an explanation of what all of the Void Warlocks want to do already, which is interesting. But the Warlock's melee Pocket Singularity fires an unstable ball of void energy that detonates when it's near enemies, pushing them away from the blast and making them volatile. According to Destiny designer Mike Humboldt, he expects this melee will find particular use in the PvE or Crucible side of things. We do a lot of PvP testing, and knocking someone who is trying to shotgun rush you off the map with Pocket Singularity is always a good time. I'm excited to see that. But we have Child of the Old Gods with a Bulwark here. As Drift, you have an Ardent Bolt, or Void Buddy, that target somebody with kind of a black hole that attacks people. Let's that again real quick. See how that's super intrigued with that one, at least. Alright. That's the only one. Oh, no, we do have another one. So, as with Hunters, Titans, Warlocks will also have 3 aspects to wield in Void 3.0. You have the Chaos Accelerant. Hold down the grenade button to overcharge your Vortex, Axiom Bolt, Scatter, and Magnetic Grenades. Magnetic Grenades overcharge into a handheld Supernova. Good that they're still kind of keeping that. Feed the Void. Defeat an enemy with a Void ability to activate Devour. That's going to be dangerous. And then Child of the Old Gods. Cast your Rift to summon a Void Soul. When you damage an enemy with your weapon, your Void Soul will launch itself towards them and detonate nearby, attaching Draining Tendrils, which will deal damage and weaken the target. When your Void Soul deals damage, it restores either melee and grenade energy if you're running Healing Rift, or health if running Empowering Rift back to you. Defeating an enemy who is being drained grants Rift energy. Child of Old Gods and Feed the Void, I feel like are going to go hand in hand really, really well together. Designer Samuel Dunn calls the Child of Old Gods aspect a passion project for him, something the team worked on for quite a while to get right. I'm a Warlock main at heart, and I really love summoning little friends like Arc Soul and Bleak Watcher to do my bidding. So, I wanted to make sure that the Void Soul felt like a black hole, but with a little personality to it too. So here we're going to see the Chaos Accelerant. Nothing special here, just charge it. Completely destroy it. Move out of the way. I want to know, I'm assuming this is, for the melee side of things, this is going to be that little void orb that you can kind of shoot out. I'm intrigued. And then we've got some extra stuff here. So to complement the class-specific aspects, Void 3.0 will also introduce a number of new fragments, which offer new perks to build upon, as well as added bonuses or penalties to your Guardian's intrinsic stats. Here's a look at just a few of the new fragments to come. Echo of Explosion. Void ability kills cause enemies to explode. You get an intellect bonus. Echo of Provision. Damaging enemies with grenades grants melee energy. Stealth penalty. Echo of Domineering. After suppressing a target, gain greatly increased mobility for a short duration, and your equipped weapon is reloaded from reserves. Discipline bonus. Echo of Undermining. Void grenades weaken enemies. Discipline penalty. Another significant change for Void 3.0 is that all subclasses will have access to all Void grenade types in the game. For example, as a hunter, you'll be able to run with suppressor or magnetic grenades instead of choosing just between Void Spike, Void Wall, or Vortex. In addition, some grenades will see upgrades. For example, the Lingering Field created by Vortex grenades will now suck enemies into it. Only took them 7 years to do that. Players who have played Destiny before the Witch Queen expansion will have access to all Void 3.0 aspects and the most fragments with the launch of the Witch Queen. Several fragments will be available after the world's first raid completion. Excuse me. New Destiny 2 players will earn their aspects and fragments as part of the new late game experience. Across all these ability tweaks, new powers, and build crafting options, one theme is clear. The team behind Void 3.0 is focused on giving Guardians the chance to fulfill the fantasy of their chosen class by giving them ample opportunity to do what their class does best. As Dunn puts it, we've built out multiple ways for the player to access and key off their core vibes. For example, Dunn said, the Titan has several ways to earn and extend Overshield in a fight. Use the Bastion aspect to create a barricade to grant Overshield to you and your allies. The Shield Throw melee can grant Overshield, as does the Void Shoulder Charge. With Overshield, the Titan also gets an increased grenade recharge and melee damage. As a result of these new buildcraft options, players can double and even triple dip into these verbs, like Overshield for Titans or Invisibility for Hunters. As Dunn sums it up, it means you can do the things that your class is supposed to do all the time. Obviously, Void 3.0 arrives to coincide with the launch of the Witch Queen on February 22nd, 2022. Look, I love going deep into this. Like, it's great. Telling us all this information about Void 3.0. And obviously, they've kept some stuff secretive. Sure. It's a big selling point, per se, for Witch Queen. We'll just leave it at that. But I wish for the Arc and Solar 3.0 that they don't tell us anything. Destiny is at its best when we have secrets to uncover, we can discover and learn about things ourselves. Sure, once it launches that TWAB, maybe then put in kind of this article about it. So maybe if we haven't found something right off the bat, we can. Sure, it gets us hype about stuff, but I like discovering things for ourselves. But I am excited to get my hands on Void 3.0. I've loved using the Controverse Holds gloves with Supernova, a Nova Bomb. So I'm excited to dig deeper into that aspect. But that is all for this article. We have 11 days. If I'm doing my math correct, 11 days till Witch Queen. Till then, Guardians, stay safe.